told Gary when I started reading it that these stories couldn't really be acted out. They were so well written that I wanted to share every single word, and cutting it into a scene was not going to do it justice. So later we're going to write a screenplay and you guys can come see the movie. But for now, here we go. In October 1976, my friend Tommy Arrington had once again bailed out on our plan to travel out west and see the left side of the country. Tommy and I had previously discussed leaving in September, but those plans fell through. October arrived and he still wasn't ready. But the West was calling me. You hear all those descriptions of places, but until you visit them yourself, you really don't know what to expect. Kind of like the time a buddy of mine recommended a striptease club in New Orleans. Upon visiting said club, we were thoroughly enjoying ourselves until we realized all of the dancers were men. It just wasn't the same. I told Tommy if he wasn't ready to go in November, I was going by myself. Of course, he didn't believe me, but as far as I was concerned, come hell or high water, I was going out west in November. A couple of days later, I was sitting in a bar talking to a former girlfriend, Lindy Stevens, and telling her all about my frustrating situation. Wild Cherries, Play That Funky Music blared in the background, and a billow of cigarette smoke rose from the depths of the bar, leaving a putrid, choking smell surrounding us as we chatted. Unable to contain her excitement, Lindy piped up and said, "I'll go with you. I've always wanted to see the wild, wild West." "Whoa there, sweet thing," I said. "The reason I've been waiting on Tommy is mostly monetary. We were going to split the cost of the trip down the middle." "That's okay," said Lindy. "I've just been laid off from my teacher's job until next spring. I'm getting severance pay, so I can afford to split the expenses with you 50-50. Sounds like fun. When do you want to leave?" I was stunned that Lindy wanted to go, but she was serious. She also mentioned she had a roommate then living in Colorado Springs who would put us up for a couple of days. So Lindy was ready to leave almost immediately, with or without Tommy. Even though I knew Tommy wouldn't show, I told her we would still have to wait for his decision. The other matter we had to deal with was that this had to be a strictly platonic trip. There would be no sex, a pledge I didn't think Lindy would uphold, especially when she had to sleep in close quarters with a hunk like me. Lindy really loved my slick red 300 Mercedes-Benz two-door coupe. After meeting about the trip, I had failed to mention to her that I was selling that car, and we would instead be traveling in a car I had traded my roommate a used color TV set for. A green 1967 Chevy Impala named the Green Pig. This car was not a looker, but it had a fantastic running Chevy 283 engine in it, and it was large and in excellent road condition. Until, that is, I left it in the parking lot of a local public park on Halloween night. At that time, I was refereeing youth football games to get extra cash together for the pending trip. When I went to retrieve the vehicle the next morning, it was missing in action. After checking with the local forest rangers, I discovered the car had been rolled, not with toilet paper, but literally rolled over on its top by local teenage gangs looking for thrills on Halloween night. The damage was severe, and I had no insurance on the vehicle. With the windshield shattered and the roof a little caved in, I managed to drive it down to Milledgeville, where my good friend Trip Bradford, body shop man extraordinaire, agreed to fix it for a couple $100 and a fifth of Jack Daniels. He literally glued the windshield back in place, yucky black ooze dripping from the edges, and kicked the roof of the car back close to its original position. With a new set of Michelins, a brake job, and an oil change, the Green Pig was back on the road again. After the unexpected expenses from the cost of repairing the car, I was down to a low point on cash on hand. A couple of days before we were supposed to leave, I went to my bank to check on my available cash at the 24-hour teller and found an additional $800. The bank must have made a mistake. Wow! With the manna from heaven, I now had enough cash to go. The Green Pig was already a little rusty and the paint was fading, but the car ran like a test car for NASCAR. What more could I ask for? Well, one thing would be Lindy's approval. When I arrived at her apartment to pick her up for the trip, she saw the green pig for the first time, and she lost it. Gary Spillers, if you think for one damn minute that I am going to load my luggage into that death trap for a 6,000-mile cross-country trip, you are crazy. Where's the Mercedes? This is a joke, isn't it? Exclaimed Lindy Stevens. I had some selling to do, which I did, and finally convinced Lindy that as much as I thought of myself, I would never put either of us in harm's way with an unsafe vehicle. Finally, I convinced her to go, and we hit the road. Westward, who? Well, it was more like northwestward, who. Our route would take us north through Chattanooga and Nashville, up through the edge of Indiana, and then on to St. Louis, Missouri, via I-64. As the green pig was humming along I-75 between Chattanooga and Nashville, with the Bee Gees harmonizing in the background, Lindy reminded me of my promise to share some stories with her. I gladly obliged.